Hey, what's up, guys? Matt Shiflett with AmericanMadeExotics here. We're up in the house right now. We're about to put another rack together. This time we're putting together an I-10 rack for the I-160 tubs. That's great for colubrids. We got some Western hognose coming in, and I got a couple different orders, so I don't want to put them all in the rack that I already have. So I needed to build a couple more racks so I can kind of quarantine everything separately in different locations. So we got to put this extra rack together right now. So I figured I'd pull the camera out and go ahead and let everybody see how we put it together, since the one we did for the VE6 racks really seemed to help a lot of people. So this rack's just as simple to put together as the other one, but once we go through with you and we show you every step of the process, you should be able to put one together yourself pretty quick and easy. So let's go ahead and pull out all the parts out the box and we'll get started. So ours came with the shelves, all in a box right here. We got screws, we'll pull that out. I'm actually going to leave the shelves in the box because they're in order here. But I will pull out, so there's 3 different pieces here. Let me grab the top too. So this right here is going to be your lid. It's got their logo ingrained on it. And then this one is the bottom, which has these little grooves here. There's 4 of them. That would be for the casters, which is optional. And then all the other shelves are going to be just like this. You got some holes in the front for the pegs for the tub stoppers. And it's got this little ridge on the back here. You just want to make sure that you don't accidentally put your top or your middle or your top or your bottom somewhere in the middle of the rack. You want all these middle boards to be in the middle. So I'm going to leave these 2 out. Then the other parts that we have here, you got your sideboards, which are labeled A and B in the top corners. That's going to match up with your back here. There's 2 parts to the back. One's got your heat tape, and then one is like the carver for it here. So we'll go ahead and sit these to the side. All right. And then we'll just go ahead and lay our pieces out once we make sure we got everything, and we'll start building. All right, so you should have a pack with the screws in it. It's got the screws, instructions, and the stoppers. That's the first step. Go ahead and get your screws out. We always take them, just dump them in a little container. It's just easier to work with. And then the pack of screws always comes with a tiny little bit that's meant for these screws. So that keeps things easy. They literally have everything in the bag that you need to put it together. It's got the instructions in it, but you're watching the video, so it's pretty much going to replace that and show you how to do it instead of reading it. But it doesn't hurt to take a look at those either. All right, so this one we do a little bit different than the VE6 racks. The VE6 racks, you start with the back and the sides, but because this rack is back heat, you actually start with the bottom, and then you work your shelves up first before you put the back on. So, all right, you want to make sure on the shelves, all the shelves, they have a straight side and then they have a curved polished side. You want the curved side facing up. That's your top of the shelf. All right, so here's our side right here. And you're going to take your bottom and line it in this groove. And you're going to let it go down as far as it can until it catches right here, the way the front edge is. So it's kind of sitting there in place. I always put the speed square on it, just kind of make sure it's squared up. Now you want to make sure you're in that track here. Get everything nice and square. And then there's actually 2 slots for screws right here on the side. And then just make sure you don't over tighten, because you can definitely pull the screw right on through this thing. Then we'll go ahead and get the other one in. See, just don't over tighten it because it'll suck right on through the PVC. I'm just making sure I'm nice and snug in that groove there. Yep. And if you had casters, now would be the time that you start thinking about putting your casters in. But we're not doing casters on this one. All right, so we're gonna repeat this process on the other side. Again, you see the groove right here. We're gonna fit the shelf right into the groove. And it's got this little lip right here on the shelf. And we're gonna make sure it sits right there. We'll take our speed square and just make sure everything's squared up. And then the same deal, there's 2 holes in it for screws. And just take your time. Don't rush and accidentally put too much power on it and pull your screws through. All right. So that's our first one. Now, like I said, we've already took our top out, which again, the top has the little logo on it, has the rack name. We're going to sit that to the side so that we don't accidentally put that in the middle of the rack. And then we're going to just start pulling shelves out, and we're going to repeat that same process. We're just going to sit them down in these grooves like this and get it down all the way. And then here, I'm going to check with the square one more while we still square from the last one. All right, so you got 1 screw in the front on these. And that track is what kind of holds it in. All right, so now that we got 2 set up, we'll go ahead and just push all our shelves in. They just slide real nice and snug down them little tracks. And before we get screwing and get it really tight, we're going to go ahead and put all our shelves in now that we got the first 2 on. That'll still give us a little bit of play to help feed them tracks through. If you were screwing them as you went, it would just get tighter and tighter, and it'd be kind of hard to push them in. Again, you got a square side and you got a curved side. Make sure your curved side is up. See? Make sure your curved side is up. And once you get it screwed on, it goes together pretty quickly once you just get adding the shelves. styrofoam all over it. And this thing just really fits super tight. 2 more of these. All right. And this is our last middle shelf here. And then that leaves us with just this top shelf last. Again, it's got the logo there, so. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and work backwards. Because if we get one in this very top one, it's going to hold the whole thing nice and snug. And keep anything from coming out of that track. And then the top one is going to have top and a bottom. I'm going to get the other side over here. And then just make sure everything is nice and tight in the tracks. Just double checking everything is lined up nice and tight. And now that we have the bottom screwed and the top, I almost got everything really held together here. And it's starting to look like a rack. So now we have a row right here. Again, as you screw, just make sure everything is in those tracks. And dial your screw gun down so it doesn't shoot right through it. And if you can't do that, just definitely baby it, because the screws will go right through this PVC if you're not careful. Alright, then this middle one here, you got to screw on the top and the bottom. That just keeps your back nice and tight so that everything is held in them tracks real snug. Alright, swap my battery. So now I got a battery that's actually got a charge. We'll go ahead and finish this thing off. Alright, then we got to get the other side here. Again, we already did the bottom there. Again, just double check everything's in them grooves nice and snug. Well, once you get the bottom and the sides on, it really comes together quickly. And again, your middle shelf here, it has one down on the back of the shelf. All right, so that quickly, we've got the outline of a rack here. So you can stand it up. You got your indentation at the top to where you can stack another one. The part sticking out is going to be on the bottom down there. That's so you could put multiple racks on top of each other here. But now the next step is to go ahead and get the back on and the heat. All right, so they do a great job packing it with all that styrofoam. I've not really ever had a problem getting racks from them the way they pack them. But if it's got any styrofoam all over the back of the rack like mine did, now's your chance to get it off, because you don't want to sandwich it in there with the back where the heat is. So, all right, guys. So now we're gonna put the back on here. So this is your back slot. It has all these little slits in it, and all these openings are gonna catch the back of the shelf, and it's labeled top here. So again, the top shelf is the one that has the writing on it. You got the B here, you got the A here, and you got, the holes on the bottom where your casters go or where your wheels are. So very easy to know which one is the top and which one's the bottom, but we want to make sure it lines up accordingly. So the first thing we do to make this fit is we're going to take, there was the one screw at the bottom on both of these. We're going to kind of back that out a little bit. Back this one out, and we're gonna back this one out, and that'll just make it a little easier for us to get this back in. So it's not so tight. All right, and you see I pushed it down. It's nice and snug here. The shelves fit right in the middle here. All right, and then just so you can see what I was talking about right here, where I backed these couple screws out to loosen it. Now I'm gonna take and just tighten that right back up. And it's just optional way to do it, but it certainly makes it easier to get this back in. So all right, we got a couple of holes here for the screws. Now that we got it in, and you can see how nice and perfect that shelf fits right through there. All right, so we get these back screws in. Easy enough. And it has the first layer of our back on now. So this is a very thin piece, and this is just to protect your heat tape there, but it's still going to allow plenty of heat to get through to where the tubs are. So all right, now we got your back, and it already had the heat tape on it and everything. There's actually a groove here, which you can't even see, but they got the wire in it. So just make sure your wire's in the groove there behind it and everything's nice and smooth, so that when you put it in here, nothing gets sandwiched. So, all right, again, got the slots there. And it just went in. Nice and tight, nice and tight. You do got one here for a screw, and I will say I don't put that one in. I always double check. Let me make sure. I always double check this right here, because I've certainly had them where the hole for the screw right here would have hit the heat tape or the wire. And see, that's clear of it right there. But always double check before you just go shooting a screw in. Make sure it's not going to hit that heat tape, because I have got them before where it was pretty close to the wire and I had to adjust the heat tape before putting that screw on it. So better to be safe than sorry. It's usually right, but again, something like that, I'd rather check and see with my own eyes before just assuming that somebody didn't put the heat tape there where you're about to shoot a screw right through it. And that's just the one right there in the back. That'll hold the top down. And then you have 3 screws on each side right here. Right. And then we get these screws right here on the back. All right, so before we finish, now's the chance to put your probe in. And this is pretty cool here for a back heat rack. So you can take your probe and just stick it in this hole right here. And that way, your probe is held inside the rack and it's touching that heat tape. I always take a little bit of this foil tape and just kind of secure the probe. I'll do a piece there like that, and then I'll just put an extra piece going up just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then that's it. That's your rack there. Go ahead and stand it up. This is a really cool rack for colubrids. You got 2 size tubs. This one we got the I-160 tubs, which is a good size tub for a baby colubrid. You can see you could mix and match it. You could do either 3 of these bigger ones or 6 of the small ones, or any combination of. So nice little back heat rack for the colubrids there. So awesome. Took us no time at all. Pretty easy to put together, and you can stack them. They look great. Just a nice little rack. I mean, we're always a fan of Reptile Basics stuff. So that's another one, and hopefully that helps somebody. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I appreciate y'all watching. Until the next one.